Oh, shit. I'm fucking back. It's been so long since I've made a video. I know. All 33 of you guys missed me. It's been 3 months since I've made a fucking video. And now we're back. And I'm gonna make a fucking video. I'm gonna make a fucking YouTube video. Today, we are reacting to the worst dash cam deaths caught on camera. Anyway, I think this is going to be a pretty good, decent video. Let's hop right into it.
These are the worst dashcam deaths ever caught on camera. Philando
Oh
Castile,
shit, I forgot
Falcon
my
Heights, Minnesota. Imagine you're driving through
my
a
thing.
quiet
Oh.
Minnesota suburb on a warm July evening. Your girlfriend's in the passenger seat. Her 4-year-old kid is in the back. All of a sudden, police lights flash behind you. You've been pulled over plenty of times before, so you know the drill.
I've actually never been pulled over, not a day in my fucking life. I've never been pulled over. Never, ever, never. I don't know how the fuck I haven't been pulled over yet. I drive like a fucking nut job.
Stay calm, hands visible, cooperate. This time, none of that is going to matter. The driver in that car was 32-year-old Philando Castile, a cafeteria supervisor at a Montessori school in St. Paul. He was just trying to get home on the evening of July 6, 2016.
But Officer Jeronimo Yanez of the St. Anthony Police Department had other plans.
The cop pulled him over in Falcon Heights, officially for a broken taillight. But there was a second reason.
Dude, let me fucking guess, dude. Let me guess. He smelled the herb. Let me guess. And then he goes, no. And as he's reaching for his wallet, he's got a gun. Boom, boom, boom. What? 100%. There's no way.
That didn't come out until later. Just before this stop, Yanez had radioed another officer, saying the driver matched the description of a suspect from a recent armed robbery. You'd expect something specific. Height, build, clothing, maybe a distinguishing feature worth writing down. What Yanez actually said was that the driver had a wide-set nose. Somewhere, a detective school...
Yo, you get pulled over, and he goes, yo, you match the description of this guy that did an armed robbery. Oh, does he look similar? No, he just has a fucking giant nose. What the
was
fuck?
asking for its diploma back. But that was enough for Yanez, and he rode out with Officer Joseph Kauser as backup. Kauser took the passenger side while Yanez walked up to Castile's window. Yanez asked for a license and insurance. Castile cooperates and hands over his insurance card. Then, calmly, he tells Yanez exactly what Minnesota law requires a licensed gun owner to say during a traffic stop.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out.
What happened next took about 7 seconds. The dashcam doesn't show inside the car, just Yanez at the window. So whether Castile was reaching for his wallet, his license, or his gun came down to testimony alone. Diamond Reynolds, his girlfriend in the passenger seat, said he was going for his ID. Officer Kauser, standing on the other side of the car, said he never saw a gun and never felt threatened. Not until Yanez started shooting. 2 people within arm's reach of Castile.
I fucking knew it. I knew it, dude. He got shot up in the car. Dude, just because of his big-ass nose. Dude, his nose didn't even look that fucking big. He didn't even have that big of a schnoz, no? He didn't really have that big of a fucking nose, and he got shot up.
Castile saw nothing dangerous. The one person who did was already pulling the trigger.
Oh my god, dude. His kid was in the back of the car.
Seconds
Fuck
after
no,
shooting,
dude.
Reynolds pulled out her phone and went live on Facebook. Millions of people watched in real time as she sat next to her bleeding boyfriend, with Yanez still pointing his weapon into the car, screaming at her not to move. Her 4-year-old daughter was in the back seat the entire time. The dashcam footage wasn't released to the
Did he
public until June
survive?
20, 2017, almost a year after the shooting. By then, Yanez had already been tried for second-degree manslaughter and 2 counts of reckless discharge of a firearm. The jury
Rest in peace
acquitted
to
him
the
on
to
all
the guy,
3
bro.
counts, but he was fired from the St. Anthony Police Department shortly after.
Throw
Bishar Hassan,
that cop in jail
Anchorage,
forever,
Alaska. Imagine you're walking down a street in Alaska on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. 3 police cars pull up in front of you all at once. And before you've even processed what's happening, you're already on the ground. To understand,
Dude, that's dead ass. That's dead ass Texas law when you get caught with the yard, dude. On God. You going straight to fucking prison. On God.
how it got there, you have to go back to earlier that afternoon. A man had
What could
walked out of a
happen?
Walmart in Anchorage carrying a BB gun he just bought, which is basically a toy that shoots small plastic pellets. The problem was, this particular one was a replica modeled after a 9mm handgun, realistic enough that if you saw it from across a parking lot, you wouldn't know the difference. And apparently, somebody at the Walmart store didn't know the difference either. The person called 911 and reported a black man walking around with what looked like a handgun and was possibly intoxicated. Not exactly a description that narrows things down, but dispatchers ran with it anyway. That man was 31-year-old Bishar Ali Hassan. The calls kept stacking up.
How old
after
is he?
The man was 31-year-old.
You 31, you buying a BB gun? You 31 years old and you buying a fucking BB gun, dude. What you What you using a BB gun for at 31 years old, dude? That's
Bishar Ali
ridiculous.
Hassan. The calls kept stacking up after that. Multiple people reported seeing someone matching Hassan's description boarding a people mover bus near Fireweed Lane, then getting off at 16th Avenue and A Street. By the time dispatchers had his location pinned, 3 APD cruisers were already rolling, and all 3 pulled up on him at the same time. It was still broad daylight.
Oh, they got
One
it
of
on
the cruisers
camera.
was running. By the time Hassan hit the ground, the officers had fired roughly.
Yo, that's fucking stupid, dude. That's so stupid. That's so dumb. Look.
Cruisers was running.
He sees the police, all 3 of them pull up. He sees all 3 of them pull up, and he probably knows what it's fucking for.
By the time,
And he reaches and he just pulls the BB gun out. That shit doesn't even have an orange tip on it, dude. No orange tip.
Hassan hit the ground, the officers had fired roughly 20 shots.
And then they shot
The
him
footage
52
keeps rolling.
times.
He's still moving,
Oh my God,
lying
he's
on
still
the pavement,
alive.
and the officers are yelling at him to roll onto his stomach.
Yo, did he say he got shot 20 fucking times?
Ground, the officers had fired roughly 20 shots. The footage keeps rolling. He's still
They shot him 20 times and he's still alive. Holy fuck.
moving, lying on the pavement, and the officers are yelling at him to roll onto his stomach. He couldn't, and for about 2 minutes, nobody came over. He was eventually transported to the hospital, where he died from his wounds. In July
Not a
2019, the Alaska Office of Special Prosecutions cleared all 3 officers, ruling that they'd acted in self-defense.
Yeah.
The dashcam footage sat in police custody for nearly 3 years after that. Hassan's family didn't see it until they filed a $20 million wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Anchorage in April 2021. Their attorney got hold of it and released it to NBC News in February 2022. The lawsuit is still pending.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard of, dude. He literally pulled a fake gun that looked real on police officers. That's the most dumb shit I've ever heard in my life, dude. That's literally like how you get shot. Level 1.
Dalip Kumar, New Jersey Turnpike. Imagine driving up the New Jersey Turnpike on a Wednesday afternoon. Then you spot a cargo van ahead with mattresses strapped to the roof. And something
I've
about
seen
the
that a
way
couple
they're
of
sitting
times.
doesn't look right. But before you can finish that thought, they come loose, tumbling across the highway. And a tanker, loaded with thousands of gallons of fuel, is 2 seconds behind. Those 2 seconds belong to 40-year-old trucker Dalip Kumar.
Have y'all ever been like driving on the fucking highway? Y'all just driving, cruising along, and y'all see some car with like some crazy nut job amount of shit just like strapped to the roof? Like, that shit is ridiculous. Sometimes I'd be looking at that shit. I've seen it like twice, and I'll be praying. I'm just like, Dude, please let all of their shit just fall off of the top of their car.
On October 7, 2015, he was hauling a full load of fuel up the northbound lanes of the turnpike near Kearney just after 3 in the afternoon. The van ahead of him belonged to a 26-year-old named Adam Abuamud, who had loaded mattresses onto his roof without bothering to secure them properly. When the mattresses came loose and hit the road, Kumar was right behind the van. But a fully loaded tanker doesn't stop the way a sedan does. You can't just hit the brakes and hope for the best. By the time Kumar saw what was happening, he was already too close. He had about 2 seconds to decide. Plow straight into the van and the mattresses and risk a fireball in the middle of 3 lanes of moving traffic, or cut hard to the right and take himself off the road entirely. Kumar went right. A Michigan trucker named Kevin Hauer was driving right behind Kumar when it happened, and his dashcam caught the whole
No
thing.
way.
You can see the tanker cut sharply across all 3 lanes, from the left all the way to the right shoulder. It clips the guardrail, tips over, and drops off the side of the road. The moment it lands, the whole thing goes up in flames.
Did he die?
And Kumar gets trapped inside. According to reports, Hauer pulled over and ran.
I would have slammed right into the back of that fucking van, dude. I swear. Yo, if I'm like this guy, dude, I don't give a fuck. I'm slamming right into the back of that fucking van, dude. That was 100% the van's fault, dude.
Toward the wreck to try and help, but the heat pushed.
Oh my god, dude. Look at this dingus right here trying to, like,
Hauer pulled
running like he's Superman,
over
dude.
and
Like he's Superman. And then he goes,
toward
oh,
the wreck to try and help.
nope, never mind. And then he just
But the
turned
heat
back.
pushed him back before he could get anywhere close. A Honda CRV was also caught up in the crash, but its driver walked away without a scratch. Kumar was the only fatality. He was
Damn.
pronounced dead at the scene.
Rest in peace,
As
bro.
for
Rest in
Abu
peace.
Hamud, he was fined for improper cargo and sent on his way. Jashanpreet Singh. Imagine you're sitting in traffic on the I-10 freeway in Ontario, California on a Tuesday afternoon. Westbound lanes have slowed to a crawl near the Milliken Avenue off-ramp, and you're just waiting for the cars ahead to start moving. What you can't see is a fully loaded semi-truck coming up behind the line at full speed, and the driver isn't slowing down. Behind the wheel of that truck was
Yo, let me guess. The fucking idiot just plowed through all the traffic and killed 7 people.
21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh, hauling a red Freightliner tractor trailer westbound on the I-10 on October 21, 2025. Now, when you're driving a vehicle that weighs tens of thousands of pounds, the general expectation, a pretty reasonable one, is that you slow down when traffic stops. But Singh had other ideas.
Slider's gone.
He noticed the traffic up ahead and plowed straight into the back of the line at highway speed. It set off a chain reaction crash that swallowed 8 vehicles, including
Holy
4
fuck.
other commercial trucks, and sent fire spilling across 3 lanes of the freeway. 3 people died that afternoon.
How many people?
Spilling across 3 lanes of the freeway. 3 people died that
Damn,
afternoon.
bro.
2
Rest
of
in
them were a
peace
married
to
couple,
those people.
Clarence and Lisa Nelson.
Oh my
Clarence
God.
had spent years as an assistant basketball coach at Pomona High School, and the 2 of them were just riding together that
They
afternoon.
look like such nice
when
people,
Singh's
too,
truck
bro.
reached
Rest in
them.
peace.
4 other people were injured, including a mechanic who wasn't even on the road. He'd been on the side of the freeway changing a tire when the wreckage spilled off the freeway and found him anyway. The dashcam footage actually came from Singh's own truck. The camera is mounted inside his cab, pointing forward, so you see exactly what he saw. A wall of stopped cars getting closer and closer, and at no point does the truck slow down. It hits a white SUV first, then keeps going, smashing
Dude, those 3 people are definitely the 3 that died, dude. There's no way.
through vehicle after vehicle before flames start erupting from under the cab. Then the whole thing veers off to the right. Officers from the California Highway Patrol who arrived at the scene said it looked like an explosion had gone off, with car parts scattered across every lane. One of them, Officer Rodrigo Jimenez, later told reporters that the whole thing could have been avoided if somebody had been paying attention sober. That
The whole thing could have been avoided if he just did this thing. Look, the whole thing could have been avoided if he just goes like this. Wait, wrong foot. Just do this to the brake. Do that to the brake. And I promise you I'm wearing shorts, I promise. Anyway,
That somebody was Jashanpreet Singh, and he was far from sober.
What? Oh. What was he on?
Investigators found that he was driving under the influence of drugs when the crash happened. He was arrested.
Nut job, bro. Y'all, remember this, dude. Don't drive lit. Don't drive drunk. Stay at your house. Get an Uber. Whatever, bro. If you want to go out or whatever and you lit, DoorDash it, dude. DoorDash it. You can DoorDash anything these days. Trust.
Right there at the scene and hit with 3 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated.
He should
plus
get life.
DUI causing injury. He
He should get
pleaded
life.
not guilty and is currently being held without bail. Kyle Dinkheller, you're a deputy sheriff nearing the end of your shift on a Monday evening in rural Georgia. Your radar clocks a pickup doing 98 miles per hour on the interstate. So you think about putting in one more case, not knowing this would be your last. That's exactly where 22-year-old Deputy Kyle Dinkheller found himself on the evening of January 12, 1998. He had a 2-year-old daughter at home and a wife who was about to tell him she was pregnant. After
Damn,
spending
bro.
nearly 3 years with Lawrence
Rest in
County
peace.
Sheriff's Office, he'd just been promoted to
I gotta
an
turn my
elite
fan off.
interstate unit that hunted drug runners running along I-16. Now, the man he pulled over that evening was not your average speedster. He was Andrew Brannon, a 49-year-old Vietnam War veteran who'd served 2 tours as an artillery officer with the 23rd Infantry Division. After the stop, Dinkheller asked him to step back toward the cruiser with his hands visible. Standard stuff. Instead, Brannon responded by shoving both hands deeper into his pockets and screaming at the deputy to shoot him.
Let me guess, dude. He uphold on the police officer and he died.
Not exactly the direction most traffic stops go. Dinkheller radioed for backup immediately, but his nearest partner was 15 miles out. So for the next several minutes, it was just the 2 of them on a quiet rural stretch near Dudley, Georgia, and Dinkheller's dashcam was recording everything. When Brannon noticed Dinkheller calling for help, he rushed at him. Dinkheller pulled out his baton, and Brannon backed off. But as it
A baton.
turned out, Brannon wasn't retreating. Instead, he walked back to his truck, reached under his seat, and came back with an M1 carbine. Backup was still 10 minutes out, and things were moving fast. Dinkheller spent the next 40 seconds giving every command in the book, but Brannon ignored all of them. He then
He still didn't pull his gun out.
crouched by his driver's side door and opened fire. Dinkheller fired back, but missed. Some analysts believed it was a warning shot, which tells you everything about the kind of person he was. Staring down a rifle and still trying not to kill the guy. Brannon didn't extend the same courtesy.
He had a rifle pointed at him, and he still did a warning shot.
He advanced on the cruiser, firing round after round, hitting Dinkheller in the arms, legs, and torso. Dinkheller managed one shot to Brannon's stomach, but it barely slowed him down. By the end, Dinkheller managed one shot.
Dude, so small he had to point it out, dude. Look at that little ass bullet, dude. That little ass piece of shrapnel, dude. What is that, dude? That's like this big. That's like that big. Dude.
Shot to Brannon's stomach, but it barely slowed him down. By the end, Dinkheller had been shot 9 times. Brannon then walked up, took careful aim, and fired a final round into his right eye. He then got back in his
Rest in
truck
peace,
and drove
bro.
off. Police found him the next morning, hiding in the woods, still in Lawrence County. And even then, his only words were, "They can hang me." Not a trace of remorse. At trial, his defense argued PTSD. And for the most part, his record backed it up. 2 combat tours and declared 100% disabled by the Department of Veterans Affairs for Depression and Bipolar Disorder. His psychologist testified that the encounter with Dinkheller had likely triggered a flashback and that Brannon had been off his medication for 5 days.
Holy
But the
nut
jury
job.
watched the dashcam footage, and whatever sympathy they had didn't survive what they saw. They convicted him of murder in a premeditated, torturous, and cruel manner, and sentenced him to death. Brannon was executed
bro.
on January 13, 2015. Darryl
Smoking his
Lunsford.
pack.
Imagine you're a constable on patrol in rural East Texas. It's just after 1 a.m. on a Wednesday, and a weird car is rolling through your tiny town. Something about it doesn't sit right, so you pull it over and come face to face with 3 men on the run. Darryl Lunsford had made the same walk hundreds of times before, 8 years as a constable for Precinct 3 in Nacogdoches County.
Them motherfuckers
8
are
years
scary,
of
dude.
late-night stops
Constables.
on Highway 59, and not a single one had gone sideways on him. He was 47, married with 2 kids, and ran an auto repair shop on the side.
Damn.
Inside the car he stopped that morning were brothers Valdemar and Ronaldo Villarreal, along with their associate, Jesus Cortez Zambrano. 3 guys on a run from Houston to Chicago with 31 pounds of marijuana packed in the trunk. But Lunsford
Holy
didn't know any of
fuck.
that yet. He questioned Ronaldo, who was driving, and asked for his license. There was no license on him, and said he'd left it somewhere and claimed he was just helping his brother drive. Nothing about that story added up, so Lunsford asked to check the trunk. The moment Ronaldo popped it open, the smell of marijuana hit immediately. And this is where it should have ended. Call for backup, wait for another unit, secure the scene. But before Lunsford could do any of that, Valdemar got out of the car despite being told to stay put. Within seconds, he grabbed Lunsford by the legs while Ronaldo grabbed him from behind. Zambrano got out to join them. The 3 of them pinned
Dude, you can even see the color of the weed in the back of the trunk, dude. That's all probably weed right there. That's fucking crazy, dude.
Lunsford face down on the ground and just went to work on him. They stabbed him multiple times, grabbed his own handgun off him, and Valdemar put a single round in his neck. It severed his spinal cord and killed him right there on the side of the road. Then they dragged his body into a nearby ditch, got back into their car, and took off.
Why would they even bother fucking moving his body, dude? That probably did fucking nothing.
The whole thing played out in minutes, and Lunsford's dashcam had recorded every second of it. What they didn't
Rest in peace,
realize
bro.
was that a sheriff's deputy named Don Welch had driven past Lunsford's stop just minutes earlier. So when that same car he saw came speeding past him moments later, Welch knew something was wrong. He turned around, drove back, and found Lunsford's body. Chief Deputy Thomas Staniland showed up shortly after, and he's the one who noticed the dashcam was still running. He rewound the tape, hit play, and watched 3 men murder his colleague in real time. By morning, police had clear footage of every single one of their faces, and these guys had no idea. The 3 of them ditched their car less than a mile from where Lunsford pulled them over and ran into the woods, still carrying 31 pounds of marijuana with them. Seemed like a solid escape plan, but Ronaldo didn't even make it.
Dude, that 31 pounds of za is a lot. Is a shit ton of weed. But that definitely won't, like, it is not worth it to fucking kill a constable like that for however much money you're gonna get for that.
A full day before a highway patrolman spotted him. Valdemar made it 2 more days before they found him. Zambrano managed a whole week, which honestly might be the most impressive thing any of them did. All 3 were convicted. Valdemar, who pulled the trigger, got life without parole. Ronaldo got 40 years. Zambrano pleaded guilty and got 30.
L.
Bijan Gaisar.
They should all got
Imagine
life.
you're driving home on a Friday evening in Northern Virginia. You're on the parkway, minding your own business, when a car behind you crashes into the back of yours. For whatever reason, instead of stopping, you keep driving. And what started as a small car accident is now a police chase. That's how the last night of Bijan Gaisar's life began, with a traffic incident he didn't cause. Gaisar was a 25-year-old accountant working at his father's firm in McLean, Virginia. No criminal record, no history of violence. Just a guy trying to get to his parents' house for dinner.
Just
on
some
the evening
dude.
of November 17, 2017.
2017. That was a year right there, dude. 2017. Holy fuck.
Driver crashed into the back of his Jeep on the George Washington Memorial Parkway. The damage was minor. Nobody was hurt, and Gaisar drove off without stopping. But turns out, driving off from a minor accident.
I don't think I would have noticed. I don't think I would have noticed. If like someone just did a little love tap, I don't think I would have noticed. He probably didn't notice either. Like I low key, if it's like a little love tap, like boop, like I wouldn't notice that shit for real.
Accident like that is a misdemeanor in Virginia. It's not the kind of thing that gets you killed, or at least it shouldn't be. But U.S. Park police officers Lucas Vineyard and Alejandro Amaya treated it like it was. 2 officers went after Gaisar on the parkway, with a Fairfax County cruiser following behind as backup. The park police didn't have dash cams or body cameras at the time, So the only reason any of this exists on video is because that Fairfax County car had one running, and the dash cam captured everything that happened next. Gaisar was stopped
They
3
didn't think
times
they had
during the
cameras?
pursuit. The first 2 times, the officers got out of their vehicle, approached his Jeep with their guns drawn, and Gaisar
Yo.
slowly pulled away. Not at high speed, not aggressively. He just drove off. At no point in the footage did his vehicle appear to threaten either officer. The third time, the officers parked their SUV in front of his Jeep to block.
Dude, they're freaking out, dude. They are fucking wigging out on him, dude. He didn't even get hit. He was the one. No, he wasn't the one that hit the other guy. The other guy hit him and he just drove off. I don't even see any damage in the back of his car, dude. His back of the car looks perfectly fine. I don't think I would have noticed that shit. I think this would have been me right here. I definitely would do some shit like that. No way. I don't think I would drive off if the police had guns drawn on me, but I would be pretty freaked out, dude. I think he drove off because he was scared, low key.
Him in. They got out, guns drawn again, and approached. At this point, you'd think Gaisar had run out of options, and technically, he had. But then his Jeep started to inch forward again, and that's when the officers opened fire. 10 shots, fired in 3 separate bursts.
Forgot to put it
into
in
the
park.
vehicle. 4 of them hit Gaisar in the head. He spent 10 days in a coma before dying on November 27. When a doctor arrived,
Dude, he didn't insta-die getting shot in the fucking cranium 4 times. That's fucking crazy.
to check him for organ donation, the officers denied access, declaring the brain-dead 25-year-old under arrest and his body evidence. The man hadn't moved in 10
Rest in
days, but
peace, bro.
apparently the flight risk was real, and the accountability that came
They had a flight risk on him after being in a coma, after being shot in the head 4 times. Wrap it up, dude. Whatever state this is in, whatever city this is in, not going there, dude. Not going there
after
ever.
wasn't much better.
So
The
I can
Justice
never go there
Department took a look
at
at the
all,
case
never
and
again.
passed. Fairfax County prosecutors managed to get manslaughter indictments in 2020, but a federal judge threw them out, ruling that the officers had immunity. In
Throw the book at
2023,
'em.
the government settled a wrongful death lawsuit with the Gaisar family for $5 million, and the 2 officers involved were never convicted of anything. Leonard Cure. It's a Monday morning on Interstate 95 in southern Georgia, and a pickup truck blows past traffic doing over 100 miles per hour. A few seconds later, a sheriff's
Holy
cruiser
fuck.
rushes after it with lights flashing. It started as a routine speeding stop, but a few minutes later, there's a gunshot from the shoulder of the road up ahead. The man behind the wheel of that truck was Leonard Cure. And to understand why a routine traffic stop ended with him dead on the side of a highway, you have to go back about 20 years. In 2003, Cure was convicted of robbing a Walgreens store in Dania Beach, Florida, and sentenced to life in
Dude, that is the worst fucking store to rob, dude. A Walgreens. Fuck no, dude. You're out of all the places you choose to rob, it's a Walgreens.
prison. The problem
Fuck no,
was,
dude.
he didn't do it. An ATM receipt proved he was miles away
He didn't
when the
even
robbery
do it.
happened, and the descriptions of the suspect given by the 2 store employees didn't even match each other. But none of that
Damn.
mattered at trial. It took the Innocence Project of Florida and a newly formed conviction review unit to finally get his case reopened. In April 2020, after 16 years behind bars,
Damn.
Cure was exonerated and walked free. The
Fuck.
state eventually
I
paid
would've
him
been mad as fuck.
$817,000 in compensation, which sounds like a lot until you break down what 16 years of someone's life is actually worth. Now, fast forward to October 16, 2023. Cure was driving his pickup truck north on I-95 through Camden County, Georgia. He was heading back to the home he'd recently bought outside Atlanta after visiting his mother in South Florida. Then Staff Sergeant Buck Aldridge clocked him doing over 100 miles per hour and pulled him over. Aldridge came out of his cruiser already shouting, "Demand."
Yeah, if I knew what a while and what that much in prison, if I knew what prison was like, and I've been in there for the past 16 years, I don't think I'd be going over 100 on the fucking highway, dude. That would not be me.
Cure get out of the truck.
I
Kure
would be
got
driving
out,
the speed
walked to
limit.
the back of the vehicle, and put his hands on the tailgate. Calm, cooperative, doing everything right. But when Aldridge told him to put his hands behind his back, that he was going to jail, something broke.
Oh,
After a lot of back and forth, Aldrich hit him with a taser. Kure spun around trying to rip the wires off. And just like that, the two of them got into a full-on struggle on the shoulder of a highway in broad
oh
daylight.
shit.
At some point during the fight, Kure got a hand
Not
around
one
Aldridge's
punch
throat,
thrown.
and that
Oh
was all
shit.
Aldridge needed. He drew his gun and fired, and Kure
Ah.
died right there on the shoulder of Interstate 95. 3 years after being
What you gonna
told
do,
he was a
dude?
free man. The district attorney eventually
He
got
was
around to
only out for 3 years, dude. Oh no.
the footage and had a pretty straightforward conclusion. The use of deadly force was objectively reasonable. No charges, no consequences, case closed. Kure's family then filed a $16 million lawsuit, and as of now, it's still working its way through the courts. Timothy Randall. Imagine you're driving down a country road in East Texas just after midnight. Then police lights flash behind you. You pull over and step out when the officer tells you to. You don't have a weapon. You keep your hands up. But somehow the officer still wasn't satisfied. Right before those lights came on, 29-year-old Timothy Randall had been on the phone with his mother. He was calling to let her know he was heading to his cousin's place after a night out, and that he'd be a little late, just so she wouldn't worry. He hung up when Sergeant Shane Iverson of the Rusk County Sheriff's Office pulled him over on that country road, allegedly for running a stop sign. Randall said he
Damn.
didn't run any stop sign, but Iverson ordered him out of the car anyway.
Stop sign? What stop sign?
As Randall stepped out, he put his wallet in his back pocket and adjusted his waistband. And the small movement is apparently what set the whole thing in motion. Iverson started digging through the front of Randall's pants and then told him to put his hands behind his back. Randall kept his arms up and told the officer he didn't have anything on him. The kind of thing you'd say because you think being cooperative and honest will keep you safe. In this case, though, it didn't. Then Iverson told Randall he was under arrest, but refused to say what he was being arrested for. Randall asked twice, and both times he got thrown to the ground instead of an answer. The shot tore through his ribs, lungs, and heart. Randall only managed a few more steps before collapsing face down on the road. Meanwhile, Iverson was never charged. A grand jury looked at the case 2 months later, watched a man get shot on the side of a road for adjusting his waistband, and decided there was nothing to indict. Iverson quietly retired from the department shortly after.
Life in prison.
And then, just to round things off nicely, went to court to make sure nobody ever saw the dashcam footage. And for nearly 2 years, it worked. Randall's mother had no idea what actually happened to her son on that road. She found out the same way most people find out things the government doesn't want them to know. She sued. A federal lawsuit forced Iverson's lawyers to hand over the footage. And once the magistrate saw it, the conclusion was pretty straightforward. Iverson's qualified immunity as a law enforcement officer was denied, and the case is heading to trial in 2026. Lakin McDonald. Imagine you're walking down a street on the southwest side of Chicago on an October night in 2014. Cop cars are on scene, and there's a teenager in the middle of the road holding a small knife. All of a sudden, another cop car arrives, and the whole thing changes in about 6 seconds. The teenager was Lakin McDonald, and he was 17 years old. Earlier
Damn.
that night, somebody had called 911 about a person breaking into cars in the Archer Heights neighborhood. By the
that's
time
not
the police
nice.
got there, McDonald was walking down the middle of the street with the 3-inch folding knife. Not exactly the kind of weapon that requires 8 squad cars and a firing squad. He popped the tire of a squad car and scratched its windshield. But by the time most of the officers were on scene,
That's
he
like
was
this.
just walking, moving away.
That's like this. He had a little ass knife like this. This shit, if I'm a cop and I have a gun, this isn't intimidating me unless he's running at me with it. I don't know. He did pop a tire. He did slash a cop's tire with that bitch though. That's kind of reckless. That's a bit
Away
much.
from all of them. 7 officers were already there, and not one had fired a shot. They were keeping their distance, managing the situation, waiting him out. Then Officer Jason Van Dyke pulled up. Van Dyke was a 13-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department with at least 18 complaints already on his record. He stepped out of his car, and within 6 seconds, he opened fire. He fired a total of 16 rounds into McDonald.
Holy
the kid
fuck.
went down after the first shot, and Van Dyke just kept pulling the trigger. The dash cam shows puffs of debris rising off the pavement as bullets kept hitting his body while he lay on the ground. What happened after the shooting is where this gets even worse. Police reports from multiple officers at the scene backed Van Dyke's story. They said McDonald had lunged at Van Dyke, and he was advancing in a threatening manner. But the dashcam showed the exact opposite. He was walking away. So either every one of those officers watched a different shooting, or they all agreed to lie about the same one. And the evidence tampering didn't stop at the paperwork. The audio equipment in Van Dyke's patrol car had been intentionally damaged, according to police technicians. Another car had its microphones stuffed in the glove compartment with the batteries put in backwards. On top of all that, a Burger King near the scene had security cameras that might have captured the whole thing. But after officers visited the restaurant that night, 86 minutes of footage just vanished, and nobody could explain where it went. The city sat on the dashcam video for over a year, and during that time, they quietly settled with McDonald's family for $5 million. Before the family had even filed a lawsuit, it took a freelance journalist suing the police department and a judge ordering the video released for the public to finally see what happened. That was 13 months after the shooting. As soon as the video went public, Van Dyke was charged with first-degree murder. In October 2018, a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder
Life without
and
parole.
16 counts of aggravated battery, one for each bullet. He got 6 years and 9 months, but only served around 3. 3 other officers were charged with conspiracy for allegedly helping cover up what happened, but all 3 were acquitted.
That's the end of today's iceberg. And apologies
Damn,
again.
bro. 3 years. Hell nah. Should have been life without parole. Anyway. Peace.